You know, my alma mater, Sam Houston State University in Huntsville, Texas, Eat 'em Up Cats, has a motto: the measure of one's life is its service. And I've been in service ever since I was a young girl. I'm so thankful that one of my biggest blessings has been my volunteerism with Dress for Success Houston, and giving women the empowerment, the confidence, the voice, and of course the wardrobe to let them go out and find their own success and create their own journey.
I wanted to be a writer from early years when I was in high school. My parents felt that that wasn't a real job. So I became an English teacher instead. And all that while I was collecting stories because I met so many different people. Everybody has a story. And so I had all these massive numbers of stories in my head. So the community is really a big part of who I am and what my journey has become.
I was the first woman to be the Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Galveston. I worked with some wonderful people and have been very fortunate to meet even some famous people like Dan Rather. And the career for women has really grown in parks. Years ago, it was always men.
I was born and raised here, of course, and I really was a child of the civil rights era. So I was one of the first to integrate Rosenberg Elementary School as a first grader. Several years later, when I was at what's now called Austin Middle School, it was at that time a junior high, I was the first Black Student Council president, and other firsts like that as I went through my school years. After I graduated from Ball High, fourth in my class, out of about 640 students, I went on and got my bachelor's degree in music therapy from Texas Women's University and my master's degree in behavioral sciences from the University of Houston Clear Lake.
Well, so Keith was in banking and his boss, they owned a little store on the Strand. He's like, wouldn't it be so fun to do a retail shop? And I could quit my job at the bank. And I was like, no, it'll get boring, but it's been anything but boring, to say the least.
During nursing school, I went to work doing sleep studies at night, and I went to nursing school during the day. So it was quite challenging, but I believe that if you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, that you can just keep on going until you get there.
You know, kind of work together and pick up the kids from school, and I would help make sure that they, you know, got their homework and got to bed if mom was working, or paid the bills together, and mom helped mom study together. And that's just kind of the mentality that got us through. Was it was a team effort.
As I began to teach, I would think, oh, I could really open my own place, and we could do this, that, and the other, and we could do this technique and this format. So I was always thinking about it. Even when we lived up on the mainland here, I was always looking at buildings and thinking, how could I do that? Who would help me? And I had had an autoimmune disease and had been working on overcoming that, and had started seeing a functional medicine doctor, and had started using essential oils for daily health and wellness. So I'd been studying a lot about health and wellness, and yet I was still teaching. And so I think there was kind of like a little swirl that was starting in my brain about all of the knowledge that I was getting, and I just don't want to die with this information in my head. I really feel like, as a natural born teacher, it was my joy and my responsibility to offload that information.
My journey started, my dad was in the Navy, so I was born above the Mason-Dixon line. After that, we were transferred to the Philippines, and then we went to Tennessee, and when we got to Tennessee at 3 years old, I was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and the doctors told my parents I would be in a wheelchair the rest of my life. So I think through the years of being with doctors and physical therapy and needles and just everything, that my desire to help others came. It sprung from that because I wanted everybody I interacted with to be at ease.
For me, at first, it was more that draw to TV. But when I got to college, I'd always enjoyed film, everything from a film noir to a drama to something action-packed. So I really wanted a degree and to be able to study about all my loves, including film and TV as well. So I have a degree in radio, television, and film, and it's all come full circle. So I do the news, the nightly news now, but for years, I traveled the world visiting different sets of television shows, different movie openings and everything. So I really was able to experience the best of both worlds and bring people along on the journey as well.
So I became an ER nurse right out of school, and then I went to freestanding ER. Dr. Longoria opened one of the very first privately owned freestanding ERs in Houston, and he invited me to come over there and become a part. And that's where I started understanding about emergency room medicine and customer service and going above and beyond and doing the extras for the patients that they don't normally expect to receive in the ER.
We wanted to make them feel valued and to make them feel a part of their care and not be fearful of an emergency room. And so we created Hospitality Health ER, where you could come and be treated in a way that you felt incorporated in your care and valued and like you were a part of our family. And that felt very natural to us.
So first I'll tell you about Archie, because Archie gets no attention. Nana gets all the attention, and he's just like going along saying, me too, me too. But Nana is a showstopper. She's an Old English sheepdog, and very early on she was really, really naughty. She was the worst dog ever because she wasn't learning to behave well, and she was breaking things and she was destroying things, and she actually broke my wrist and tore both of my knees, and she was just horrible. And trying to figure out how we could get all this energy out of her so that she could learn to be a better dog. And that's when I got the idea that I should write a children's book about her. So that's how Naughty Nana, the children's book, was born. And Nana became a celebrity. So Nana and I have been to museums and libraries. We've been to more than 100 schools. She has met many thousands of kids who are now growing up with the books and giving them to other people in their families. She's become a real phenomenon.
Gina convinced me to join the chamber with my essential oil business, and so I had to come up with a name for it. And so I came up with Bent on Healthy Living because I'm a very punny person, and Renee Bentley and Bent on Healthy Living. So it just made sense, and I worked that out of my home up until last year when I finally found an appropriate building. All the other buildings, doors had been shut in my face for one reason or another. Me not knowing that something like COVID was coming, I believe the good Lord shielded me from that and protected me until the right time. And then the perfect building came, and my friend Cynthia Corder was my real estate agent. She called me and she said, I found you a building. It should have taken years to do what we did in a matter of months, but again, it was just the blessing and the crew that we had. I had to explain to the city, they wanted to know, what is a wellness center? And I said, well, we're gonna have exercise classes and a indoor cycling studio in there, but we're also gonna have wellness therapies. We have a massage therapist, we have an IV therapist, we have a physical therapist, we have an infrared sauna, and we have a salt booth for halotherapy for breathing, along with all of the other things that we have to offer in the building. So that's what, in my opinion, makes it a wellness center, is you can come in the doors wherever you are in your health or your fitness journey, and we're gonna help you go from there.
I'm the liaison with Better Parks for Galveston, and I am pro Parks and Recreation. I feel like that is the one thing that touches all walks of life. I'm on the Kiwanis board, I was on the Rotary board, I'm a past president of Kiwanis. We at Christmas and Thanksgiving time with Kiwanis hand out groceries for the meals. There's a lot of families here that do not have it. Also, we give out lots of scholarships through Kiwanis, so does Rotary. And I'm probably the biggest leader in the summertime, as GISD is and we're so fortunate that GISD has a grant program that they feed the children breakfast and lunch in our recreation centers. And the week that GISD closes, and I understand everybody needs a vacation, Better Parks for Galveston stepped up and purchase the breakfasts and lunches for the children in the recreation centers. So I guess you'd say I'm good at asking and pursuing. And I feel like, you know, it's the right thing to do.
In younger adult years, I was very focused on my career, and having chosen the profession of music therapy, which was relatively new at that time, having just been established in the 1950s, there were many uncharted waters, and so those types of things I think made me very driven, and knowing that I had to make a way since it wasn't already carved out. And so I was very focused on that, knowing that there weren't clear paths already. So for example, there were, for a few years, music therapists working in Houston in various agencies, but no one had ever had a private practice until I did. So I had the very first private practice as a music therapist in Houston. And I'm happy to say there are many private practice music therapists in Houston now, but it was a new thing, and so I was very focused along those lines. Then when I did get married and have children, I made a major shift and was a stay-at-home mom and a homeschooling mom with less focus on being working outside of the home. And then now, divorced and with grown children, I'm working full-time again and have gotten involved in so many different organizations. And to be honest with you, it's become a little bit much. So I'm right now in a season of trying to tweak that a little bit, because finding that balance is a challenge. There's so many wonderful things that I want to do and that I love doing, but that balance is still a thing to be sought after.
In my business, what I always say, it's the little things. And I think it's hard not to get caught up in all the little things, but for me, it matters. All the little things do matter. You want to be greeted. You want someone to look you in the eye and smile at you and say, I like your dress, or, you know, just little things like that. But again, I think if you want to go in business, be prepared to do whatever job if someone doesn't come in, or, you know, it might be cleaning the bathrooms when it's just, you have to do a little bit of everything to make it function every day.
It's important to Memorial Hermann that we're connected to our community, that we know our community, we know who is there, and that they know us. And that if they need us, we want them to call us personally. And if we need them, we want to be able to call upon them. And so we're the great connectors, and that's what I feel like I do every day. Truly, how people always say, oh, it's not an emergency, they're not bleeding to death. Well, guess what? When people call me, somebody probably is bleeding to death or probably is needing to go to the ER. And so it's just, I prioritize that way. And every day I just do what's got to be done then. I don't say, oh, this is work or this is life, and try to balance that, because there's no such thing. It's a blend every day.
I come from a middle-class family. There were no special introductions. There was no networking. There were no connections. All I had was showing up every day and showing someone just how dedicated I was. I might make a few missteps, but who doesn't, right? Giving yourself grace as well is so important. But I think good old-fashioned hard work, there's so much to be said for that. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. And I've always said that about myself. I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I might be the hardest working person in the room.
Women are strong and smart and capable. And I think if you want it bad enough, you can achieve anything. My dad told me one time when I was fearful of failure, and he said, it's not about who is the smartest, it's about who wants it the most and fights the hardest for it.
What I do for a living is not a hobby. It's, you know, I take it very personally, and I want to do the best I can do, and I want people, when they interact in our store, I want them to feel good about it, and it's not just a transaction to me. Every time we've given back to something or said yes to something, I've never regretted it. I'm like, you know, just people will come in and say, oh my gosh, you gave to our organization, or you supported us this way, and we didn't forget it, and that feels good. It feels really good.
The more you do, the more you can do. And sometimes the pettiest, most unpleasant task that you're asked to do today, that you really don't enjoy doing, years from now, that task will have given you some skill or some knowledge or some insight or some strategies for dealing with something that will be important to you later on.
Always remember to speak up and talk about what your ideas are. You know, be a part of the team. Build those relationships at work. You know, you don't want to be a part of the problem, you want to be part of the solution.
You have to be as forgiving of yourself as you would be others. I think often we are perhaps more willing to set aside the faults of others than ourselves. And also not think that you have to get everything done today, but to pace yourselves, because it's a journey, it's not a sprint.
Dream about what you think you want to get up and do every day. Go ahead and get the education for it, but keep your eyes and ears open and listen to the people around you, because little girl, you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Find your passion and go after your passion. There's not a job description for what I do, but Memorial Hermann allows me to do what I do, and I love it.
To have been chosen as Woman of the Year means to me that perhaps some of the things that I've done have been recognized and valued as maybe making a better difference, and to know that that is perceived by others. I am very honored and appreciate that, and I do want to thank the Galveston Chamber of Commerce for honoring me in this way, for including me in this group of outstanding women. It is indeed an honor.
I am beyond honored and flattered to be a Woman of the Year, especially after being there year after year and seeing who this elite and esteemed club is. Amazing women who are dedicated to their family, their faith, their work, their community. I am sincerely honored to be adopted into this club. I do what I do not for the recognition, but to serve others and lead a life of purpose, and hopefully in doing so inspire others along the way.
It's such an honor to be chosen to be Woman of the Year, but to be the very first duo where it's mother-daughter Women of the Year, it's just extra special.
I'm still just completely overwhelmed by it. I've done little things here and there, but never really paid attention to whether anyone was noticing, because I was gratified for myself, you know, that I was doing good things. And this honor has just touched my heart. It's something I'll never forget. And it has inspired me too, because I want to live up to this standard that has been set by Women of the Year before me. And I also want to set an example for the Women of the Year who come after me. So it's really meaningful, and I'm so grateful to the Chamber for giving me this honor.
So I guess my whole take on it is I'm just very honored, flattered, and pretty flabbergasted by it. It means a lot. It's just recognizing, I believe, service in the community. And so I'm really happy to continue to do all the things that I've been doing and to try to be the best that I can be for my family and for my community.
There's always been amazing women, and I just never pictured myself as that person, because I feel like what I do is what I do. And I'm hoping that people realize, young women, old women, realize that if you really work hard and you put your heart in something, that you'll follow my footsteps and become possibly Woman of the Year. The Chamber does an amazing job with this conference and with touching this subject.
It's not all fun having your own business. It's hard work, and to talk to other women and be like, yeah, I've been through that, and you know, and I guess looking back on it now, people have said to me, you know, yes, we went bankrupt before. My husband had cancer. We've survived all these things, and you're like, okay, these women who went before me, they've done it, and so that's something that I can do too, you know, and that's comforting. So yeah, and it's exciting to be honored. It's nice. It's kind of not used to that position. I don't know.
There are so many incredible women that have gone before me and are on this platform this year. It's quite an honor. I said, these women walk on water and they solve world peace. And then after, I said, I'm not worthy to be in this circle, but it is an honor and something that I treasure and that I am thankful for, and I do not take for granted.